If you find yourself frustrated in any capacity with meditation, I've got you. Just give me 10 minutes of your time and I'll explain how to tweak, adjust, assess your meditation practice for true insight and inner peace.
This is where I want to be very, very, very honest, transparent, and make sure that, everyone understands this, that it's a process. I think that people tend to think it's a quick fix. I think people tend to say that, oh yeah, I heard meditation was great and so I've started it and I'm going to see immediate results. But to me, I think the biggest misconception is just because you tried it for 1 month, 2 months, and you didn't necessarily see the result that you wanted to, doesn't mean that it doesn't work. I can't say even every single time that I meditate that I walk away noticing something massive. Nor should that be the expectation. Nor should, if you try meditation and that happens and you don't walk away feeling anything the first time, second time, third time, 20th time, you should say, oh, this doesn't work for me, or get down on yourself, you're doing it wrong, right? It's a progression, and you actually start to notice the tangible benefits in daily life over time. Major things that I've noticed for me is I'm much more mindful on a daily basis as a result of meditation. And when I have ran into spurts per se where I don't meditate at times, I notice that my mind can become more rampant, fast. It's almost like the way that you synthesize information is a little bit more different, and the way that you process it. And you become, at least for me, a lot more mindful and intentional with the things that I choose to do, say, and, react to as a result of such. This is something that from a personal standpoint in personal relationships, major. Something from a business standpoint with regards to making optimal decisions and being in the correct frame, major. Why? Meditation for many, it doesn't work, or they get frustrated, or things of that nature. People tend to get frustrated with themselves from the forefront when they're hey, I'm sitting down, I'm doing this activity, my mind keeps racing, then they get upset because their mind keeps racing. So, to that particular kind, if that's what you experience and you say as a result it's not working, one, I would say, be patient. Again, this is something that takes time to be comfortable with and to be able to kind of see often results that tangibly show up in your life and everyday life subsequent. I guess you could say trick that I would say to try to employ and consider is that, to take the quick wins. And what I mean by a quick win is the moment you actually notice that your mind is racing, that's a win. Because you become aware. Because what will happen is you'll start to notice that those time periods between how often your mind starts to go, they become less and less frequent. You'll continue to just go back to it and say, okay, mind race there, no big deal, we're back on. You know what I mean? Count that as W. You know what I mean? Don't get frustrated. Actually do the exact opposite and say, okay, yeah, caught myself there. Another one that I do hear often with regards to meditation is that they started it, they may be even doing it all, but they just don't see the results in everyday life fast. They're just hey, these things keep happening to me, or I'm not seeing all these things that I heard Tom or Sally talk about over here. Again, express patience too. But I would also take a look at your process. Are you truthfully there whenever you choose to meditate? Truthfully there? Are you just sitting down for whatever time period that you say you're going to sit down for, but when you're sitting down there, you're thinking about what you're going to do next, or what you just did? Or, how much you like or dislike the particular, just sitting there and being that fact, how is your actual process there and being 100% with yourself in that regard and doing an audit of the actual, work that you're doing there. And maybe that potentially, again, maybe change the system of the actual exercise if you find that it's not particularly working. For instance, I prefer breath work over the candle, the inhalations, exhalations. Candle works well, but that's just my preference is the breath work. So if you're doing, say, breath work or what have you, and that might not be working with you, try the candle, find whatever resonates with you. There are many different faculties that can be leveraged to be able to get into those states. And I would just say, consider looking into the others, because inevitably there's, I'm sure, one that is out there that will work for you. The mainstay here is to be 100% with yourself. You know what I mean? Are you really putting in everything that you can into it? And are you actually, invested into the transformation of you instead of just doing it to say that, yeah, I sat down and did it today for 10, 15, 20, half hour, whatever it may be. Sometimes I get a lot of questions often that are like around the why or the actually like what's happening with your internal being while you're meditating comes up. For those who need to have the why, it's about the different states that your mind can enter with proper meditation. So what I mean by that is, like, on a daily basis, we're operating more often than not on a beta level, and there are different frames within beta. There's like low beta, mid beta, high beta, right? And so like when you're processing information, you tend to be at, like, you know, say like midline, baseline, beta. Essentially, when you're in that beta frame, you're in a operating frame, right? You're just like, imagine like a computer, you're just running system. But when you meditate, you can enter into different states, which is, you know, alpha, theta, primarily, that allow you to then create a different frame for yourself internally, that then when you go back into the beta state and you're going to that operating mode, you move, you act differently. The whole structure of any kind of like meditative technique or anything of that nature is where you're quieting the mind or bringing it to a place where you're able to enter into a different state to program yourself to operate at a different plane whenever you go back into the beta. And so, you know, I often hear a lot of people that say, you know, they do, say, for instance, I am affirmations or any kind of affirmation work or things of that nature. They say it didn't work for me. Potentially, it could be because you jump straight into doing that in a beta state where you're in that operating state and you're not quieted the mind or entered into the alpha and theta state, which is the place where you can impact your unconscious by being able to program really those like things that you want in that particular frame that you're in. And then once you, you know, go back out of such into what is, you know, back to your beta, some of those things have resonated in a way where you actually, you know, again, unconsciously start to move, feel, and act from those things that were implanted whenever you were in those other states. And meditation is an excellent way of doing that. You know, if you kind of just sit down coming straight from a beta frame and you are just saying, hey, I am this, I am this, I am this, it's almost like you're kind of just, you know, I would say like throwing a ball off of a wall where it's just going to bounce around. You know what I mean? Whereas, you know, what you want to do is have that Velcro where you want to throw that ball and you want the ball to stick to the wall. And you know what I mean? And then once you come back out, you want to be able to, from such, pull that ball off and have it be from a spot where you can use that ball based on what you implemented whenever you're in those different states of mind. That meditation allows you to see maneuver into soundly with, you know, proper execution, consistency, and honestly just the diligence and desire to want to do so. And overarching, I think the biggest piece of it for me and why this video is so important is because I think that this practice is something that is, for some, it's something that you hear, oh, well, I think meditation's good. I hear meditation's good, and either you're not doing it or they are doing it, but you're doing it sporadically, and there might not be a consistent frame in here. And again, like, I want this for, you know, many people to at least consider it and really try it the same way that you would treat taking care of your body physically. Like we all know in some capacity that exercising in whatever modality works for you is good. Working on the mind is the same way. And like I find all too often that people have their gym memberships, they're this, they go do that, and they speak towards that, but there's not much of an emphasis on the body as put into the mind. And so like, but it's all a part of this operating system that we were given. And so like the biggest piece for me here is like, we need to optimize from top to bottom. And arguably, you know, in my opinion personally, the top is everything. Like, you get this right, the rest of it comes accordingly. With that, if you have any questions in anything whatsoever, you know, drop them in the comments. Whatever it may be, like, I'm here for you. This is why I created this, and I wanted to build this community where we're also here for each other as well. And just know this particular video is more talk around the subject of meditation in and of itself. Without a doubt, your boy is dropping a video with respect to, my particular way of meditation that I prefer, getting more in depth there. So stay tuned for that particular piece, and much love and appreciate y'all.